Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to an $800 gaming PC build. I was looking back at my older videos and I realized I haven't done one of these $800 builds in a little bit. I did an Intel style build, but most people seem to prefer AMD, and when I do an AMD style build, people prefer Intel, so whatever. I'm just going to do both, and I'm going to continue to do both, so yeah, I guess you guys are just going to have to deal with it if you prefer one over the other. With that being said, let's get straight into this with the CPU. I went with the AMD FX 6300. It's a 6-core AMD processor running at 3.5 GHz, 4.1 GHz turbo, socket AM3 Plus, 95 watts, and it's a 6-core desktop processor. Now, this processor is really good. I didn't include a CPU fan with the build of the $800 budget, but if you guys want to get one down the line, I'd recommend something like a Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo. That's going to keep the CPU pretty cool, and you guys know that AMD has subpar. The CPU cooler with the 6300 is going to get the job done, but it's definitely not something you should be using for the long term. If you can upgrade to a Hyper 212 Evo, that would be the best. This CPU is really solid for $120. It actually competes more and more with the i5 than the i3, because this is only about 5 to 7 frames per second off from the i5, and the i5 is almost double the price. So yeah, that's a really good value. And this CPU, I really like it because it's a budget CPU. It's only $120, but it works really well in multimedia applications such as rendering, live streaming, all that kinds of stuff. So you don't need to go for a high-end i7. If you're on a budget, you can get something like the FX 6300, and that'll work just fine for live streaming and video editing. For $120, the FX 6300 was really the way to go, so yeah, obvious choice for the build. For the motherboard, I went with the Asus M5A97. Now, this is a really good motherboard for $75, and I really can't say much more about it. I've talked about it many times in my motherboard, but just as a quick overview, you guys can Crossfire SLI with this motherboard, 2 DDR3 RAM slots, actually 4, my mistake, up to 2133 speed. So this is a really good motherboard for only $75. It's actually $85, but on Newegg right now there's a $10 off mail-in rebate. Yeah, if you guys look around, actually sometimes I've seen Newegg with promo codes for an extra $10 to $20 off, so you guys can get a really good deal on this motherboard. Moving on to the RAM, I went with G.Skill Ripjaw's series 8GB, 2 4GB sticks running at 1600 speed. Now, before I talk about the RAM, I just want to say that I got the RAM on Newegg right now. There's actually a bundle where you can get the RAM and the case I use for the build for the combined price of both of them, but $15 off. So just keep that in mind. This bundle's on Newegg, and these bundles usually last forever. So I'm going to start factoring these into the builds because any Joe Schmo can get these bundles. So yeah, why not factor them into the builds? Now, 8GB of RAM is going to be perfectly good for the build. No reason in getting 16, and at 1600 megahertz, this is going to be really solid RAM. And because the motherboard has 4 RAM slots, you guys can add an extra 2 sticks of this RAM, and you guys will have 16GB. If you really get into, editing, live streaming, things like that, I guess RAM can be more helpful than, having 8GB versus 16. Now, for the power supply, I went with the Corsair Enthusiast Series TX650. Now, originally I was going to go with the CX600. Was shopping around on Newegg. CX600 is actually $79 right now. I don't know what caused this spike in price, because the CX500 and the CX430 are still fairly cheap, and the TX650, which is higher quality and higher wattage, is actually cheaper than the CX600, because this one has a $10 off promo code and a $20 off mail-in rebate. So, Newegg, get that pricing in order, please. But yeah, this is a really good 650 watt power supply. You guys can't Crossfire SLI with this power supply, so if you guys do want to have the option of doing that, you guys can pick up a TX750 or a TX850, and that will allow you to Crossfire SLI. But 650 watts is going to power this build no problem, especially because it's a really high quality power supply from Corsair. For the graphics card, I went with the Sapphire Radeon HD 7970 3GB model. Now, this is $390, and actually it's about $360 after a mail-in rebate, so really good price on the 7970. The Sapphire model has a really good fan solution, so overclocking is going to be very, doable on this graphics card. When you overclock this is a pretty damn fast graphics card. Actually, AMD is more, known for being more overclocking friendly than NVIDIA, so if you guys are into overclocking, 7970, really good choice. And the 7970 is actually really good in 1080p gaming, but if you guys crank it up to 2560 by 1600, this card actually still holds up pretty well. yeah, the 7970 was a giant chunk out of our $800 budget, but, you know, 7970 is a great card, so obviously had to put that into the basket. So yeah, 7970, really good graphics card, but it is a hefty price, so we had to give up on some other aspects of the build, like the CPU. I originally wanted to go with an FX 8350, but 7970 is more important, especially in a gaming rig. For the hard drive, went with Western Digital WD Blue 1TB, no SSD. You guys know what I say, so I'm going to go over this really quickly. If you have a previous PC, you can salvage the hard drive from that and skip this step entirely, or get a 60GB SSD. And if not, 1TB hard drive, you guys already know it's a 1TB blue hard drive. A lot of people actually ask me what's the difference between blue, black, and green, so I figured I should cover this real quickly. Okay, so blue is medium on power consumption and performance, black is high on power consumption and performance, and green, as you might expect, is low on power consumption and performance. So there's a quick lesson on what those are. And finally, for the case, I went with the Cooler Master Half 912. Really solid case for about $50 after a mail-in rebate. I use this case, can't say enough good things about it. So yeah, thanks for watching this video, guys. Remember to give us a thumbs up, comment on this video, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.